And here it is, folks, the fourth Grand Prix Series tournament for the candidates final to play Magnus Carlsen for the World Championship. My buddy from the U.S., Carl Nakamura, is in it. Don't miss any of the action. This is going to be a great, great tournament. Here is the lineup, folks, for the fourth in a series of FIDE Grand Prix tournaments. This one being played in Conti Mesquite from May 14th through the 26th. Look at this lineup. Fabiano Caruana, rated over 2,800, representing Italy. Soon to represent the United States. And I'll make a point here this fall, I guess, that he can change over to the U.S. He has dual citizenship. Out of the top 10 players in the world now, America represents 3 of them, since Wesley So from the Philippines switches federation to the U.S. Number 2, my buddy, Carl Nakamura. Almost 2,800. He went over the 2,800 mark about a month and a half ago. Great player. I expect a lot of good things from a Carl. His chance to get in the candidates final. Huge deal. Third, Alexander Grishuk. I think incredibly underrated. You don't hear a lot about Alexander, but I'll tell you, he's a top player. Young Anish Giri from the Netherlands. Another one to watch out for. Maxime Vacher-Lagrave from France. Another great player. Sergei Karyakin, oh my God, another great player. Thomas Eski, who I believe is leading in points so far in the Grand Prix Series, another great player. Boris Gelfand, older but still got the guns. World Championship challenger against Vishy Anand, lost in a tiebreak. Jakovenko, another great player. Peter Svidler, really interesting guy, another great player. We'll see which Peter shows up. If the good Peter shows up, he can be really tough. A guy I like personally, Leonardo Dominguez from Cuba, another great player. When he's playing on, he's on. And a really exciting player, Jobava from Georgia. You never know what the hell Jobava is going to do. The games are always fun to watch. And there's the lineup, folks, of the final Grand Prix tournament to determine the candidates to be in the final tournament to play for the World Championship. Don't miss any of the action. This is going to be great. Hi folks, Sean Cordisco back again. Another game from round 3 of the 4th edition of the FIDE Grand Prix Series. Series of tournaments leading up to the candidates final. The winner of that plays Magnus Carlsen for the World Championship. 2 players that don't need any introduction in the chess world. Dmitry Jakovenko as white from Russia and Peter Svidler as black from Russia. Peter, I believe, is the 8-time Russian champion. I mean, I'll say that again, 8-time Russian champion. To win a damn thing twice is huge. I think he's won it 8 times now, so he's a hell of a player. So, like anything else with Peter, it's which Peter shows up, and we're going to see right now which Peter shows up. Jakovenko is white, Svidler is black. Let's get to it. It's going to be a real OP exchange. Which I'm surprised he picked the exchange variation, Jakovenko, because he lost round 2 and won round 1, so he's coming off a loss and thought he played something a little sharper, but we'll see how it works out for him. Queen f6. Now, I've always hated the fact that this bishop can come out and pin this knight. My light squared bishop's gone. But Queen f6, d4, pawn takes, bishop g5, the intermezzo move, queen of d6, now knight takes, bishop d7, knight c3. White stands pretty good here. He's castled, he's got 3 minor pieces developed. Peter's a little late on the development on his king side. Bishop e7, bishop takes, knight takes. According to the computer, that's the last book move. Knight. Interesting choice here. What would you do? Would you castle short? Would you castle long? Would you do something else? Castling long, bishop e6, bishop g4 are the computer's 3 choices. He decides to castle long, which I like a lot, of course. Nice open file here. Black dominating. Queen to c1, getting the queen out of the way. Bishop g4, no pin anymore. So he goes to f4. That's a good spot for that knight. But black can start moving his kingside pawns here to go after white here. We'll see how he does. Knight to g6 first. Knight retreats back to d3. Then a move, I'm surprised. It's the second choice for the computer. Now it's third, but it's close. Bishop e6 is the computer's choice, and I kind of like that myself. Decides to go f6. I guess he didn't want him to go e5. It's just putting a lot of pressure on the e5 square. Queen to e3. And king to b8, I call that a grandmaster move. He didn't want the queen getting in because he castled queenside, so he's one square over, so he's got to move the king to cover the a7 square. And so he's just going to go for it. Looks like Jakovenko's doing okay. f4, like that a lot. There's no dark squared bishop to pin the queen against the king. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, we'll see how it works out here. And it's the tied for first choice of the computer. And I'm a little surprised. A move that I never would have even thought of. It makes sense. He wants to move this bishop. Threat is here at some later date, pinning in the bishop. He decides to go bishop c8. Rook a to d1. I think white's looking okay. About a half pawn advantage on the computer, but I think it's a lot easier to play white. Queen e7, getting him off from the discovery attack from the knight on d3. Rook comes over. b6, just shoring up some of his pawns on the king side there. Maybe he's even thinking about later going here, pushing pawn here, and this bishop is coming down. Queen to g3. Rook h to e8 is the computer's choice, and I happen to agree. Computer decides he wants to go rook d4, which I thought was a really interesting move. I never would have thought of that. That's an interesting move. Rook to d4. Jakovenko goes knight e2, and then rook a4. White goes c3. Now, it's weird having that rook cut across, but we all see why rook can't take the pawn. Knight goes here, hitting the rook. That's here. We'll say rook takes. Knight takes pawn check. You lose the queen. So that pawn isn't free. c3, c5. Interesting though, if queen had taken e4, after b3, rook a3, knight d4, that's it. Where's the queen going to go? That's a tough spot. After c5, f5, a little surprised at that move. Now this pawn is awful backwards, but rook takes, pawn takes, rook takes, rook takes, queen takes, rook d1, queen g4, queen takes, bishop takes, g takes. And when the smoke clears, it's a bishop for a knight. Okay. He's got about 3/4 of a pawn advantage for black, but that's a lot of taking there. And of course, we know that h7 pawn's going to fall. Rook takes, knight. All right, Peter's got a pawn up. He's got a majority on the queen side, 4 against 3. We'll see if white can draw this. King c8, h3, bishop goes back, king f2, king d8, knight checks, bishop takes, rook takes. All right, we're in a rook and pawn ending. Now this is where the grandmasters really shine. Rook and pawn endings is one of those oxymorons in chess that the less amount of pieces there are on the board, the harder and more accurate you have to be, because you can't cover up your mistakes with other pieces. If you want to pause the video and take a look at this position, what you would do as either color, feel free, because rook and pawn endings are very instructional. Rook h5. Rook's got to come back. A little bit on the defensive. He is a pawn down. King comes up. Here we go. We're going to do a lot of maneuvering here. Rook gets behind black. King e3. Here comes white. Rook to d2, guarding that pawn. Got to guard it. Rook checks. King f3. Rook a5. a3. This takes a lot of precise calculation. This is a lot more complicated than you think. Rook checks. King e3. Rook checks. That was move 40, by the way. I think he might have been low on time, and they repeated just so they can get the move in. King f3. Rook again. Is Svidler being a pawn up, offering a draw by the repeat? King e3. No. Goes c6. So that stops the 3-move repetition. Rook to e2. b5 is computer choice, and that's what black did. Rook to d2. Rook d5. Black says, no, there's no way I can trade. King f5. Rook f2 check. And the points are starting to slowly pile up for black. It's almost a 1.5 advantage now. King e5, king f3. Now the rook can't come back over and check. Rook on f2 is guarding both the back pawns. Rook to d3 check, king to g4. Here we go. And the threat, of course, is to bring the king up. Rook e3. And this is where I think Jakovenko stumbles. King h5. Rook a4, or excuse me, pawn a4, king a5, h5, h4, any one of those. He decides to go rook to f5. Check. And that's the beginning of the end. You're going to see a really, really good rook ending now by Svidler. e4, here he comes. Rook f2, trying to stop the black king from getting in. Now it's just technique. Now stop the video now and see if you can find the winning move. It's a 2.5 point advantage now for black. In all sincerity, the game is over. f5 check. Rook has to take. Now rook to e2. Here it comes. g3. Rook takes. Rook g5. Going after the other pawn. King goes to d3. Rook takes. King takes. Rook c7. He's going to have to give up one of those pawns. a5. Rook takes. Pawn takes. And that's where Jakovenko throws in the towel. Granted, the material is equal. They both have 2 passed pawns, but black is pawns are so much farther down. There's no way that white can stop them in time. It's an over 6-point advantage for Svidler. So Jakovenko loses 2 in a row. Very uncharacteristic. It's got to be tough for him. I'm sure he felt bad. Anyway, folks, that's another game from round 3 of the 4th in a series of Grand Prix tournaments. FIDE, what I call the FIDE playoffs, to get into the finals, and the winner of that plays Carlsen for the World Championship. I hope you enjoyed it. I think it was an instructional rook pawn ending. And I want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.